Chapter 1. The Wake-Up Call, The Surface, Naive's Story. 10 years earlier, the alarm buzzed violently, but she had already overslept. Sunlight stabbed through thin curtains, mocking her. A sharp knocking on the door followed. Rent. Again. Her landlord, impatient and insistent, demanded payment. The phone rang. Her mother, medical emergency. She needed money for the hospital. Rushing out the door, she discovered parking tickets plastered across her car, the gas tank empty. No money for a bus. Borrowing a friend's motorcycle was the only option, but the friend demanded repayment first. By the time she reached her office, the morning had already slipped away. Debt collectors called. Grocery lines reminded her she was counting every dollar. Bills piled like walls: electricity, water, phone. Pawn shops offered pennies for the things she once cherished. Every small victory, every borrowed dollar came with humiliation. At work, she was invisible and indispensable all at once. She was asked to finish reports in minutes, blamed for delays, watching colleagues receive praise she could never earn. Paychecks were small, obligations massive. She slept fitfully on a thin mattress that night, counting bills like footsteps through a dark hall, wondering if she would ever escape. Dinner with a friend's family. That evening, she was invited to her friend's house for dinner, hoping for a brief respite. But the moment she stepped inside, the tension hit her. Voices rose, words snapped, accusations about bills, loans, and debts flew across the room. Her friend's siblings argued over allowances, parents argued over unpaid obligations. Naive observed silently, not a word. She recognized the familiar rhythm, the stress, the helplessness, the fear, the same she had grown up hearing at her own table, only this time it was not her family. The universality of financial struggle struck TV moment, financial stress everywhere. Back home, exhausted, she sank onto the couch and turned on the television. A courtroom show flickered to life, a woman suing her husband over unpaid bills, broken promises, and mounting debt. The arguments, the threats, the stress, all boiled down to money. Even entertainment, she realized, revolved around financial struggle. Her world was not unique. It was a reflection of a system that trapped people everywhere. She leaned back, the weight in her chest both familiar and profound, and yet a spark ignited. If everyone struggles, maybe the solution exists. Maybe it is about understanding the rules they are not taught. The Philippines trip, awakening to global financial struggles. The next day, a wealthy friend invited her on a weekend trip to a secluded island in the Philippines, Palawan, to attend a private wedding. All expenses were paid. A beautiful escape. At the airport, her friend revealed a twist. They had to fly ahead, and she would travel alone. Everything was arranged. She just had to show up. Upon arrival, the friend called with an emergency. They had returned to America. Naive was stranded, but she decided everything is paid for, might as well explore. Navigating the Philippines on a tight budget, she saw the hardships of life everywhere. Traffic jams, overpopulated streets, families without refrigerators or washing machines, streets without lights, children running barefoot, people working long hours just to survive. The contrast between her own perceived struggles and the reality around her opened her eyes. Financial hardship was not personal, it was universal. The weight of almost enough. Naive returned to her small apartment, the weight of the day pressing down on her. On paper, she was doing well. Her job paid more than most, and she carefully tracked her budget. At the end of every month, she had about $2,500 left over after bills. She should have felt relief. She should have felt in control, but relief never came. Every month, new emergencies surfaced like clockwork. The car needed repairs she hadn't planned for. The dog's vet bills added up faster than she could save. Friends borrowed money she had already earmarked for debt repayment. Work projects demanded overtime, but she had no energy to take it. Even a sudden utility spike felt like a personal failure. By the time she sat down with her spreadsheets and online banking, her leftover funds seemed to vanish. She was juggling multiple due dates, minimum payments, and surprise charges, each one chipping away at her sense of stability. Month after month, the pattern repeated. She started questioning herself. Why am I not getting ahead? Why do I feel broke, even though I make good money? She realized something unsettling. The problem wasn't her income. It wasn't her effort. It wasn't even the bills themselves. It was her lack of control and understanding of how money moves in real life. She was trapped in a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, even with leftover funds, and it was suffocating. Every day felt like a balancing act on a thin wire. She calculated payments, prioritized bills, and pushed through, but something always tipped the scale. Even when she made progress on one debt, another would appear. She was constantly firefighting, paying off a credit card while the student loan interest accumulated, covering a car repair while the utility bills went overdue, moving money around to avoid overdraft fees. Despite her best efforts, she felt powerless. Money should have been working for her, yet she felt enslaved by it. The stress seeped into every part of her life. Conversations with friends made her irritable. She avoided outings to save money but felt socially isolated. Nights were restless, filled with mental calculations of what ifs and how do I cover this next month. Even small wins were hollow. She would pay off a debt only to see another expense appear and feel like she had achieved nothing. She felt ashamed despite her effort, frustrated despite her leftover, trapped despite her income. Every month was a reminder that she was missing a piece of the puzzle, a knowledge gap she couldn't bridge on her own. The combination of financial strain, constant pressure, and emotional weight left her feeling exhausted, hopeless, and unsure if she would ever break free. Chapter 1. The Wake-Up Call. The depth. On the surface, Naiv's life like bad timing and bad luck, everything hitting at once, one expense after another, but underneath it all, something deeper was at work. She wasn't lazy, she wasn't irresponsible, she was trapped in a cycle millions live in every day, what we call the innocent suffering disease. It's the silent frustration of people who do everything right, work hard, pay bills, take care of family, yet somehow never get ahead. It's not carelessness. It's a lack of awareness. They were never taught how the system really works, and that ignorance costs them everything. She was fighting a broken system, one designed to profit from her habits. Every swipe, every payment, every small convenience was tied to someone else's gain. While she earned simple income, banks earned compounding interest on the same money she worked for. That difference, invisible, consistent, and quiet, is what kept her running in place. Naive didn't realize that her feeling of being broke wasn't about income, it was about interest. The system rewards those who understand how to move money, not those who simply make it. Her paycheck was strong, but the way she used it made everyone else richer but her. And when frustration hit, she justified the cycle the same way many do. I deserve this. I work hard. A cup of coffee for comfort. Online shopping for relief. Small rewards that slowly became routines, each one harmless alone, but together they formed a pattern of impulse over intention. Bills, subscriptions, card payments, and buy now, pay later offers blurred into noise. The small print hid the actual cost. Interest piled silently while her energy drained loudly. Sometimes she'd even play the lottery, whispering a prayer for a shortcut out of the struggle, gambling not just with money, but with hope. But the real loss wasn't in the spending. It was in not knowing, not tracking where her dollars went, not seeing how they flowed, not realizing that every unplanned purchase was a brick in someone else's empire. Naive's story wasn't about failure, it was about blindness. The blindness that comes from trusting a system that was never built for her benefit. The problem wasn't her effort, it was the direction of her awareness.